Hey, I'm Rob Pats,
And I'm Kristen Stanton.
and this is the Rob and Kristen Show. Hey, and welcome to the Rob and Kristen Show. We're so excited you're here. And you know what? We want to thank one of our great sponsors, the great folks at My Pillow. You know what? They have a deal right now on slippers that is incredible. It is the cheapest right now that they've ever offered slippers, and it would just fit you. Anyway, use the promo code ATV when you go to check out at mypillow.com because that helps us here at the Abundant TV network, the Abundant Show, which is our podcast, and also the Rob and Kristen Show. So it helps us all the way around. And, we appreciate that so very much because you know what? There are times in life where you need help. And in fact, we're going to do the top 5 things we think you should know. And this first guy, he knew he needed help right away. He was a parachutist in the great state of Washington. And obviously he was jumping. They jump over the mountains, which sounds dumb when you say it, but they parachute out over top of the mountains, some of the lower mountains in the Cascade Range. And obviously this guy got maybe a gust of wind and it blew him, and he was probably singing, Wind Beneath My Wings. He was probably up there, and all of a sudden he went, uh-oh, that is a tree and I'm in trouble. Anyway, he was stuck in the tree, had to get fire and rescue there. Now, this was, according to the one story I read, the tree was about 100 feet tall. So he was just dangling up there. Yes.
No, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you shouldn't jump out of a plane unless it's a necessity. But while he was up there, my guess is he probably had some time. He was probably checking Amazon.
Kind of like this little girl in the next story.
I'm thinking so. He was probably looking up parachutes. This one's shot. I'm going to need a parachute.
Well, in this next story, which I thought was so cute, a little 5-year-old girl was playing with her mom's cell phone in the car. We all give the phones to the kids, and you can let them play with your phone. And her mom thought that she was playing games on her cell phone. No. Lo and behold, she found over $4,000 worth of child-sized dirt bikes, cowgirl boots, and a little child-sized Jeep, and she ordered them from Amazon. And thankfully, the mom wasn't stuck with the bill. These things, she was able to return them. But I am truly impressed. How does a 5-year-old go and find very specific things? Because these were things that she had been talking about. And when her mom asked her, she told her mom, "Well, I wanted it, so I got it."
It's a great attitude. We should all go out and live like that. I wanted it, so I got it. That is awesome. My guess is, though, she probably had seen her mom order.
Well, she probably did, or else her mom had the one-click ordering on, so she knew what she needed to do. But the question is, how does a 5-year-old go and do a search for dirt bikes, child-sized dirt bikes? And it was something that she wanted, that she had been looking for. And these little cowgirl boots and, I don't know, maybe it's in those little suggestions
And a Jeep.
someplace.
She wanted a Jeep, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. My guess is that little girl drinks milk.
It sounds that way.
Yeah, because she sounds like a milk drinking young lady. The sad thing, though, is milk sales are on the decline. It's utterly sad.
Aw, that was cute. Utterly.
But Gen Z, which is, of course, right now, the milk drinkers or would be the milk drinkers, they're finding out they're lactose intolerant. A lot of them. And not only them, but about 30 to 50 million people in the United States have found out their lactose intolerance, and that they have that. So we're seeing a decline in milk purchases, which is sad. Nobody will know what it's like to be at school and struggle to open that little carton of milk while you have peanut butter and jelly trying to choke you out.
You're right. It is sad. So what do you think that they're drinking now? If they're not getting milk, what are they drinking?
A grande soy latte.
Could be. So do you
I,
think that they have cows for pets?
it could be. It could be that they just utterly love them.
Well, hey, you know what? If you utterly love your pet cow or your pet cat or your pet dog, then don't forget that coming up April 11th is National Pet Day. And we love our pets here. And before Rob and I got married, I had 4 kitties. I still have 4 kitties. And well, Rob wasn't much of a pet person. And now he has a kitty that has adopted him. So he has now become a cat person. But
Tazzy is my kitty.
but 3 of the kitties are rescues, and they're the 3 oldest ones are almost 17 and 15 and, uh, 15, 14, not really sure. 2 of them I found along, out wandering around out in the road. So, and then our youngest one, he's a COVID kitty. He is a purebred ragdoll, and he was used to making these little cameo appearances via Zoom on for my pre-trials and things that I had when we were all doing everything via Zoom during 2020. And he was a kitten, got so used to being in these Zoom videos that every time that he didn't appear, people would ask me, "Where's your kitty? Where's your little kitty?" So, but you know, if you follow us on Facebook, you see me posting pictures on Facebook or Instagram all the time about the kitties, and we want to see pictures of your pets. So,
Yes, whether it's a dog, a cat, a parrot. I dated a girl that had a parrot.
a cow.
Or anything like that. Yes. And I had goldfish. I had 4 to start with. 2 died the first day. The other 2 lasted about a month, and that was it. That was the only pets prior to Kristen that I ever had.
Wait a minute. The only 2 pets prior to me.
To Kristen, she has pets.
Okay, there you
There
go.
we go. We could clarify that. Um, it was cute though. Anyway, we're gonna segue on to this next story, which is a gentleman from Virginia. Now, there are times where we get frustrated with like road conditions, especially here in the Midwest and into the East Coast, because we have ice and different things, frost and stuff like that can affect how the roads heave and potholes are started and all this stuff. Well, this guy was just super frustrated. He had reported this pothole. He had done everything. So he finally got to the point where he went, "I got you." And he planted a tree in the pothole, which tells me this is a Detroit style pothole. And it's a big pothole. He plants a tree. City doesn't acknowledge him, but they take the tree out of the pothole and they don't fix it. So next day, I like my guy. We'd be buddies. He gets on a social media platform live. I'm not going to say which one. He gets on live, tags the city, and plants the tree. He says when he came home from work that night, the pothole was fixed.
Good for him. That's really
I guess
clever.
he went out on a limb. Oh, I love that. Hey, we love being on the road. We don't love potholes, but we love being on the road, going to little towns. If you have a little town that you want us to come and visit, hey, send us an email about it. This week, we went and visited Grand Rapids, Ohio. And the reason we did that is because we have a great event coming up in Perrysburg, Ohio, which is not that far away. And you could go and hang out with Kristen at this Christmas shop in Grand Rapids. Trust me, it's coming up. You're going to love it. Let's go to the video package, and we'll do that right now. Kristen and I love the little town of Grand Rapids, Ohio. Now, if you've not been here, you should. Great little town, great little shops, all locally owned, which is so much fun. Also, there's some great pizza. We're going to talk about that later. Come with us as we explore Grand Rapids, Ohio.
We are here in Green Bubble Gorgeous. It is a cute little shop here in downtown Grand Rapids, Ohio. They make quality, handcrafted bath and body products, and one of the things that I love so much about it is they are in fact handcrafted. And if you love bath and body items, support a local shop or go online and check out Green Bubble Gorgeous on their Facebook page. One of the things that I love about Grand Rapids, besides the cute little shops, is this little space like this, and behind us is the river.
street to Grand Rapids, Ohio, unless you stop at Wildside and get a pizza. That's what we're getting ready to do. Grab a pizza, enjoy our time here, but you gotta check out Wildside. I loved it. We had a great time in Grand Rapids. And I jokingly tell you that Kristen will take you to the Christmas store. But who knows? Maybe we could set something like that up in the future where Kristen and a bunch of people that watch, a lot of the ladies that watch, maybe even some of the men. I love Christmas.
I love Christmas and I love that Christmas store. It was so cute. But you know that other store, Green Bubble Gorgeous. And now they, if you like antiques, they also have a lot of antiques shops in Grand Rapids. But that other little store we were in at the very beginning, Green Bubble Gorgeous, my niece Sophia got me onto these products, and they're handmade, and they just come out with different products at different times of the year, and they were so cute. They had little Easter like bunnies and things of that nature, little handmade soaps, but then they also had their loofah soaps and some body scrubs and some body lotions, all kinds of fun little stuff. So those are definitely stores that you want to check out.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. Hey, what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to be in Psalm chapter 91. It is something that a lot of people already know, but I wanted to talk about it because we were studying Psalms the other day, and I said, I love this Psalm. I think it's something that we need to reinforce. So if you haven't heard it recently, we're going to talk about a few little things today. And the key to Psalm 91 is found in verse 1, because once you get down verse 1, you know that you can rely upon everything else that is in this psalm and the things that you can feel, the things that you can do from the shadows. So Psalms 91 chapter 1 says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." It sounds really specific, right? He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Well, how do you know if you're dwelling someplace?
I don't know. How do you know?
Well, if you're dwelling someplace, it's something that where you live. Now, the thing is, you think about the shadows, and we were in Grand Rapids and it was a beautiful day. But last summer when we were in Grand Rapids, do you remember how hot it was?
It was, my little face was purple pink, and I'm looking for ice cream.
But if you know that when it's that hot, you know you're outside and you're looking for shade. I've got to be in the shade. I've got to find a little shade. I've got to cool down. But in order to find shade, to find a shadow, because obviously shade is caused by a shadow from a building or a shadow from a tree or a shadow from something. And so you're finding that, but in order to get into the shadow, you have to be fairly close to that object that's causing the shadow, that's casting the shadow. And it's really no different. If you are going to live in the shadow of the Almighty, you have to be living close enough to God to be protected, to be in that protected space, in that shadow. And once you are living close enough to God that you are in the shadow of the Almighty, you have some promises that we find in the next few verses. And I absolutely love this. I tried to memorize this whole psalm several years ago. And well, I do okay on it, but not the whole chapter. But verse 2 says, I will say of the Lord. So remember, if you're dwelling in the secret place under the shadow of the Almighty, you can say this. You can say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. Now, Rob, you and I were studying the cities of refuge in Deuteronomy, which once you study that and you really understand why it was set up and how it was set up, it really kind of puts a different perspective on everything else when you see the word refuge in the Bible. God says here that He is our refuge. So He is that place that we can run to in the time of trouble. So when something is going on, and it may not be something that we intentionally did, and that those cities of refuge were set up for the Israelites so that they could run and they could be protected given these certain set of circumstances. But God has said, I am your refuge. In our times of trouble, we can run to God and He will protect us. And the beautiful thing about God being our refuge is that it doesn't have to fall within certain parameters of things that we do or things that we don't do. The only parameter that we have to have is being willing to run to God and trusting in Him and trusting in Jesus Christ. And from that place, we can find safety. We can find safety with God in that place of refuge. But the Bible also tells us that He is our fortress. Remember, it says, I will say of the Lord, God, you are my refuge. You are the place that I know that I can run to when I need to be protected. But I also know that you are the place that I can fight from. You are going to be that hedge of protection around me. You're going to be that place that I can fight against the enemy who's coming after me. And when we see all of this and we think of these things, and we're that now getting into talking about what else God is to us. And if God didn't expect us to fight, He wouldn't say that He was our fortress and He wouldn't tell us that He's our shield and our buckler. So God doesn't expect us to just run into the city of refuge and not do anything anymore. But He does expect us to fight our battles. And there are certain battles that you have to fight, and I know that the Bible talks about letting God fight your battles, but the first battle that you have to fight is in your mind. And if you want to hear more about these things, stay tuned for our upcoming editions of the podcast, and we'll get into more in depth in that. But the Bible specifically says that in Him will I trust in verse 2. And it says in verse 3, surely He shall. And the thing about the word shall is it is a legal obligation. When you see it, you know that God is legally obligated to Himself to do those things that His word says. And it says, surely He shall deliver you. So if you are going back to verse 1, dwelling in the secret place of the Most High, you're also living in the shadow of the Almighty. And because you're living in the shadow of the Almighty, He is your refuge and He is your fortress. And you can trust in Him because the Bible specifically mandates that God says that I will deliver you. And He says all of those things in verse 3. And when you get down to verse 4, it says, He shall cover you with His feathers. This is God's part. Remember, we're talking about our times of trouble, our times of trials. It says that He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings shall you trust. His truth shall be your shield and your buckler. Now, I love this because remember, we're fighting a battle. We're fighting from the fortress of God, and it says that He is our shield. His truth is our shield and our buckler. Now, the shield is something that during battle that would go around and it would protect them from head to toe. Now, the other part of this is the buckler. I when I was studying this because it came up in Psalms, one of the things that I loved about this was just understanding that a buckler would have been something that would have been worn on the forearm into battle. So when you think about this, visualize going into battle with this thing on your arm. Now, if you've got equipment on you and you're going in to fight a battle, you're not going to have that equipment off to the side. You're not going to be having dangling the your arm with this buckler on it off to your side, but that's going to be up in front of you to protect you from certain things that are going to come your way. And this is a thing that the Bible says about God is that He is our buckler. Well, what does that mean? That means that God is always going before us. He is always going to go before us into any battle that we have. And so you know that when you get to a place that God is already there. He is already there. He's in your tomorrow before you ever get there. He is in your trouble before you ever get there. He knows where you need to go and He's already there. And that's the whole purpose of using this description as a buckler so that we can really understand that God goes before us. And that is something that we can count on. Now, you get to verse 5, and verse 5 is our part. The first few verses, other than you need to trust in God. The other parts of this were God's part. Now in verse 5, it's our command. It says, "You shall not be afraid." Now God is commanding us here. "You shall not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flies by day." So we have to make this choice to trust in God, because we also know that God is going to bring us deliverance. He said, "You shall not be afraid." So he will bring us deliverance, and he has promised us that he is going to be our shield and our buckler. But our part is so much like what we see all throughout the Old Testament, his command to Israel, do not be afraid. And I know, Rob, you and I have talked a lot about fear on the podcast, and I know for us, that is a conversation. I think it applies to a lot of people, because you can mentally know these things. You can know in your mind, okay, I know that God goes before me. I know that God is for me. I know that God fights my battles. But how do you overcome the fear?
And I think it's neat when you talked about the buckler, and you talked about this, to think of it, most of the time you're going to hold it right here and it protects your heart.
Yes. I love that. That's a really great example. And it does. God is always going to be there, and he's always going to go before us. And when we get down into this, and there's so many more verses, and we just don't have time to cover all of them, but it says that 1,000 shall fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. In verse 9, it says, "Because you have made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, your habitation." So these are all things that we can count on when we have made God our habitation. Now, if you're living outside of God, you not necessarily count on all of these things, but when you are walking so close to God, and that you are so close to God that you are living in his shadow, you know that you can count on him and you can trust in him to deliver you from everything.
That's it. Hey, listen, remember to go to mypillow.com, use the promo code ATV, and join us September 16th for the Abundant Conference in Perrysburg, Ohio, and go out there and live an abundant life.